Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's early evening where I am. It's 7 o'clock. And today I'm joined by my very special guest, Stewart Swerdlow. And Stewart will be talking about the Montauk Project, mind control, ETs and conspiracies. As most of you will know, Stewart's had a very interesting life. And no further ado, I'm going to say hello to Stewart. Hi, Stewart.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Well, I'm just trying to wake up here on the other side of the pond.
Oh, yeah. What time is it where you are?
Right now it's 2 p.m.
So you're still waking up? That's like me. I'm usually still waking up around about 2 p.m.
Well,
you...
I've been up since 2 a.m.
That's like me. You were saying about the ELF bombardment before the show began. And do you think that that's really affecting people's sleeping patterns?
Yes, especially between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. is when the ELF and microwave bombardment are the most intense. And the reason they do that is because they assume that most people are asleep in their time zones at that time, and so that's when they send a lot of the mind control waves down.
Right, so it affects you while you're sleeping, and it affects your dreams, and then when you wake up, obviously, because your dreams do affect you. And also, I suppose your mind's more susceptible to mind control when you're asleep.
That's correct, because you're not blocking it, and you're more susceptible to download the information.
Because they say for people that want to learn new languages, play the tape while you're asleep.
That's right. That's right.
I can understand, what that's all about. I'm also noticing, I've been noticing this for years, people have become more zombified.
Yes, and that is why in my lectures and seminars I do teach people how to put protection techniques up, especially when they're going to sleep, so that they can block that incoming bombardment while they're in vulnerable position.
Do you know more people die between 3 and 5 a.m. in the morning as well? And I wonder if that has something to do with the ELF. Because I trained as a nurse, and that's one thing that I learned. More people die. They said it was because the oxygen drops at that time. But I'm wondering if that's more to do with the ELF now.
Well, that's a very interesting point, and I would wonder about studies that may have been done, let's say, before the 1950s and 60s to see if that was true then, or if that's something that's more modern that would probably imply the ELF.
That's true. So how did it all start with you, Stewart? Because from what I understand, this all started when you was a child, wasn't it? You was only a kid when you got involved with Montauk. Did you ever see the Montauk chair?
Oh, yes, I have. And I don't think I'd want to have one in my study.
Is it big?
Oh, it's very and they had more than one. I know that many of the books out there talk about the chair, but they had quite a few. And of course, there was one of the lead psychics who worked at the Montauk Project, and I think that they refer to that chair he used as the Montauk chair. But again, for the audience, there were many different ones, and unfortunately,
for different purposes.
Yeah.
All for different. Yeah.
Yeah, but they also had not just chairs, but they also had medical tables and other type of accoutrements that were used also for mind control and programming.
So, what sort of mind control programming was you involved with? Was it sort of like to control your personality? Because in a way, I can understand it. I mean, don't agree with it, but say you wanted to spy, right? And so you sent them out to Russia. You throw that trigger word to this other personality comes in. You send them out to Russia. They go where they've got to go. They get the information they've got to get. Then they come back, and then they forget it all. I can understand the logic behind it because that's protection for the spy, because the spy in his normal or her normal life wouldn't know what he or she has done. And also they wouldn't remember the information.
Yes, that's kind of a Manchurian candidate type of scenario. A lot of the work that we did at Montauk did involve what was called hyperspace work, meaning that we could go into other levels of reality without physically leaving the location and actually observe activities and get information from that type of perspective. But going back to what you were describing, they found out long time ago, and especially this was developed or enhanced by the Nazi scientists during World War II, that if you traumatize a human mind severely, it fractures into components. And it can even be defined as a shape, which they said was a cube that went by 13 by 13 by 13 compartments, meaning they could program up to 2,197 pieces within the human mind.
Wow.
Yeah, and not all of them were full personalities. Some of them were partial personalities. Some of them were just for a specific function. There were all sorts of things that they experimented with. And now, in this time period, it's pretty much a known science, and they know exactly what they're doing.
This is where the child abuse comes into it, isn't it? Because they used to get them as children, very young children.
Yeah, they found, of course, that children are the most programmable because, unfortunately, the reason it works is when you are traumatized, you go into a state of fear. And children, of course, have a very heightened sense of fear when they're in trauma, and so they can fracture very easily. They then found out that if you can fracture a fetus in utero, then the child would be born already fragmented.
Gee, so they're even doing it to poor little souls that haven't even been born yet.
Yes, yes, but you know, that's why there's such a huge increase in cesarean births, because they found that that is very traumatic to the fetus, and therefore, just upon entry into the world, there's a fragmentation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, three of my sons have been born through cesarean, and I can understand that. One minute they're lying there in the womb minding their own business. Next thing, this pair of hands takes them out, and there's this light and sounds, and it must be really traumatic. But I think they're doing this to everyone because we're all being bombarded on every level. Everybody is in the world, aren't we? We're being bombarded psychically, physically, emotionally, through our food, through our water, through all the fear-mongering that's going on. Through the economy. Everywhere you go, you're being bombarded.
Yes, that's absolutely correct, yes.
Yeah.
And you know
Sorry, Stuart. No, you carry on.
Oh, no, they have the whole Earth rung with satellites that just transmit 24/7, and they can target the entire planet or specific locations or even specific people.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if they wanted to target me, they could easily target me, or you, or anybody without affecting anyone else, can't they?
That's correct.
You know, this is why we're getting a lot of people we're getting a lot of scientists that are dying mysteriously, or top people, their kids are dying now mysteriously.
Yeah.
But I think, again, that's to keep everyone in a state of trauma, and it's also a distraction thing, you know, because I think a couple of celebrities over here have lost children in the last couple of days. But so, of course, all the while you're talking about them, you're not thinking about other things that are going on. What do you think about this bird swine flu fiasco at the moment, Stuart?
Yes, well, you know, it's interesting you mentioned about the scientists mysteriously dying, because a large percentage of those in recent years have been those involved in biological research who would have known about the artificial mutations or the artificial creation of this virus, which is, of course, swine, bird, and human flu. That's all mixed up together, which could not have possibly occurred in a natural way.
I would have loved to have seen it.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
I would have videoed it and put it up on YouTube.
Exactly. Well, and the other thing is that these viruses came from different continents. So
Yes.
how'd they get together?
I think a lab has an answer to that. In the UK now, I've got my leaflet through. Every household is getting a leaflet on how to combat this flu. The symptoms are so general, it is unbelievable. It's coughing, sore throat, feeling ill, or a fever. Now people get that with the ordinary cold.
Exactly.
You know. But the thing is if you go to your doctor now and you say, will he say you've got swine flu even if you haven't?
Well, now, I don't know about the UK, but here in the U.S., they're saying, well, it's not so bad after all. In fact, it's milder than the regular flu.
That's what they're saying over here, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
I mean, but the biggest thing of all, which I think people were starting to wise up, is that globally there were under 1,000 cases. Whereas normally in the winter season, more than 39,000 people alone in the U.S. die from just the regular flu. So how could they call this a pandemic and get everybody excited about less than 1,000 cases globally when so many more people just die ordinarily from it during the winter anyway?
Exactly. It's all the fear-mongering again, but I think that what they're doing is that they're getting ready for what we call the autumn, you call the fall, when the flu season kicks in, and I think that then they're going to be really pushing this Tamiflu. And there's no way on this earth am I having that Tamiflu, nor my family. I will avoid the doctor like the plague.
Yeah, well, you know what? They just announced on the radio here this morning that they expect the flu to come back this autumn. And not only should you get the regular anti-flu shot, but now there's 2 more anti-swine flu shots you should get. So there's 3 altogether that you're going to be expected to get by September, October.
I'm not getting one of them. No way. We've got a caller. I'm going to bring him or her in for a couple of minutes to see what they've got to ask. Stuart, is that okay with you?
Of course.
There you go. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello.
Hi, yeah. Can I take your name, please?
Yes, hi, my name is Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
How are you? I'm from New York. You can tell by my accent. The reason I'm calling is I just want to thank Stewart because, a lot of things in my life just never made any sense. And just recently I kind of came across, and I have O-negative blood. And I just came across a site, and I kind of was researching it, and everything just started to make sense of why things of my life were just crazy growing up. Just
funny because I may be negative.
Crazy in the sense of seeing UFOs, and I always thought I was crazy and different, and I just wanted to thank him for coming forward with the Illuminati and everything that he's doing, because people really do need to wake up. And I always thought there's something wrong with me and that I never fit in anywhere. And just to be aware, and like I said, and like you just said, I have 4 children. I will not let them get the Tamiflu or the vaccination that I know is coming.
No, but...
Well, thank you, Teresa.
And I just, like I said, I just want to thank you for letting people be aware of what's going on, because I know it's not an easy job. And like I said, I'll try to spread the word for you as well.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's very nice of you to call in like that.
Okay, thank you, Stewart.
Just stay on the line. You'll continue listening, won't you, Teresa?
I will do.
Yeah, and if you want to phone back a bit later and add a few more comments, we'll be happy to hear from you. So don't think you've just got to rush off. But funny enough, Stuart, I was going to ask you this, and yeah, I agree with you, Teresa. Thank you so much, Stuart, for all the hard work you do.
Thank you.
In bringing that awareness, because as the old saying goes in the X-Files, that the answer's out there. There's more to all this than what meets the eye, and this is why people are so open to what you're saying. A few years ago they might have scoffed, but now it's all making sense and falling into place.
I mean, I'll be feeling continuously floating through a window and just crazy things. And then recently, not my daughters, but my sons, things happening to them, triangles, waking up with burnt triangles on their hands. And I thought I was crazy, but...
Nah, you're not crazy.
There's many people like that out there. And if people go to my website, which is expansions.com, you can network with all kinds of people in your own areas. Just post your name on Q&A and where you live and that you'd like people to communicate with you, and you can form a support network where you are.
And it's true with people with O-negative blood. Do they get more experiences than others? Is that really true? Or?
Well, I mean, there's yes and no to that, but people with negative Rh factor tend to have a bit more reptilian active DNA in them.
It's amazing. I never knew this until recently, and it just kind of like, wow, all this crazy stuff is starting to make sense.
Yeah.
Well,
it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny, Teresa, because I'm AB negative.
Yes.
And I read up about races. I mean, I've been AB negative for 25 years now. And I knew I had the rarest blood group. And then I read up that us rhesus negative, because no other animal or species on Earth has negative blood. It's not known to Earth. So we have more reptilian blood. And my husband, he's O positive, and the joke between us is he calls me a reptilian and tells me to get off his planet, and I call him a baboon, the planet of the apes.
Well, it really, it represents, or actually it proves genetic manipulation in mankind over time. Because the older blood types are positive, and then as we get further into modern history, it starts to go to negatives, which is an indication of manipulation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they can't find it anywhere else, can they?
No.
Because with positive blood, you can take that back to the rhesus monkey. But with the negative blood, you can't find it anywhere. We're just talking about reptilians and my blood group, babe.
Mm-hmm.
We are. Me and Stewart and a lady called Teresa, because she's O positive, O negative.
And it's so strange that it would show up like now, instead of it being so recessive, that it would come like show up in a lot of us these days, this day and age, because you would think that if it was recessive, it would just, with all the positives, it would eventually just kind of not come up anymore.
Right. Well, there's been a lot of diseases and illnesses that have shown up in the last few centuries that didn't exist in ancient times.
Right.
And that's because when they did this manipulation on humanity, some genetics just were not meant to go together with the other one, and so a lot of dysfunctional organs and systems of the body developed, and that's why we have a lot of illnesses today.
Wow. Well, it's so great to talk to you.
Well, thank you.
And keep up the fight. Like I said,
will.
I'm on your side.
Thank you. I need everyone on my side.
I know that. Everyone has to wake up and kind of, just really realize why they're here. And
Teresa, I'll be in New York next week. You can go on the site and look up where I'll be.
Oh, in New York? I'd love to.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you'll be on your site. It'll say where you'll be in New York?
Yes, go right to expansions.com, and it's right there on the home
I'm familiar with the site, and keep up the good work, and looking forward to hopefully seeing you one day.
Okay, great.
Okay, take care, Stewart.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us, Teresa.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, and about like the alien and because they reckon that us rhesus negative blood, we come from like the daughters of man. It's all to do with Genesis, wasn't it? They came down, the gods came down and had babies from the daughters of man.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and do you think this is why there is a lot of diseases, because of all the crossbreeding that's been going? Mind you, they're doing it now as well, aren't they? Look at our food. The Monsanto food.
And you know what else is that recently, well, in the last couple of years, they've developed an artificial blood for human beings, which is copper-based, which is a very reptilian type of blood. But they found out, and they know that copper-based blood, which is why they're called blue bloods, because when that oxidizes, it turns a blue-green color, that type of blood does carry more oxygen than normal blood, and actually is more disease resistant.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it's strange you say that, because I've got a friend, and she's in America. She's in Florida, and she's got some illnesses. And she went to the hospital and had some blood tests, and they told her that she's got a different kind of DNA. And they want to change her DNA. Now, I know that they're obsessed with this DNA, and I'm sure they're going to do it via drugs and blood transfusions.
Yeah.
You know, and again, what will they be doing? But I heard something about this green blood and that it carries more oxygen. Do you think it'll make them more intelligent? Because they're trying to split this. They're trying to split the human race, aren't they? They want the sort of really dumbed down version, and then they want the Superman version. Obviously, the elites would be the Superman, and the rest of us would be the dumbed down.
Well, they're also trying to create, in light of all of that, a Superman army, if you will, that is very resistant to, let's say, gas attacks or nerve attacks and that kind of thing, even radiation. And I happen to know a lot of soldiers who were involved in these experiments in Kuwait and in southern Iraq during both Gulf Wars, where they were injected with some kind of material, and they were never told what it was. And then shortly thereafter, they were put into these gas chambers and told to breathe the fumes until such time, it was a little bit, an hour a day, and then it was 2 hours, et cetera, until they were able to breathe constantly in those fumes and survive.
Right. But a lot of them became ill, though, didn't they, through the vaccination?
Yeah.
See, with soldiers, same as prisoners, they can do what they like to them, really, can't they?
That's correct. That's right.
They're perfect, they can't.
Perfect captured army, if you will, or they can experiment on them, do what they wish, and they have no say in the matter.
Mm-hmm. Back in the Olympics, back in the summer, that swimmer you had, America had, I can't remember his name, I think it's Michael something, and I'm sure he was part of that project because he swam like a dolphin.
Yeah, he did, and of course he told everyone what he was going to do, and he did it. Yeah.
And he looked quite funny. I mean, he weren't normal looking.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And I thought, I wonder if he's been genetically modified in some way. Because if they're doing it to our fruit, they're doing it to animals, all this cloning, there's so many weird and wonderful things out there. If you used to tell ordinary people that haven't got a clue about what's going on, they think that we were crazy. I mean, I'm sure you're an expert on that. I mean, I'm sure you've been laughed at many times over the years. Mm-hmm. But when you look, it's part of the main Project Superman, I think it's called. And like with them soldiers you were talking about, they're trying to make them really super strong and super resistant. So instead of having an army of, say, 1,000, they'd only need an army of 300. Right. It saves them money.
Mm-hmm. Well, they do have something called Superman programming, which is a little bit different, and that is a program or an alter that they place in a very specifically programmed person with certain genetics that allows them to appear to have superhuman powers. Now, the thing is that the triggers for this, or the activation for that particular program, is very time sensitive because the person can only perform the function once. It usually will result in their death. And it will be some one-time function, whether it's involving the staged alien invasion or New World religion or vigilante programming, whatever it may be. And this person performs the function and then dies, so that they can never capture him or her and find out what really happened.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, and that's going on a lot. With the stage alien, that's on its way, isn't it? I mean, the Pope's already come out and said that there's aliens. MI5 in Britain have opened up all their expos. So obviously, if the bird flu doesn't work, I don't think that they're gonna want to nuke the planet. Because they've still, no matter how superior they think they are, they've still got to live on this planet after it's been nuked. So I think war will be the very, very last resort. What's your take on that, Stewart?
Well,
what do you think about this culling of the population? Because it sort of all goes hand in hand with each other.
Well, you see, this is where I digress or disagree with some of that information because, you know, the Illuminati did not spend so much time and effort, you know, centuries to create a slave race to then eliminate them. But on the other hand, what they're doing is if you look in the science, and they release it every so often letting you know what they're up to, they are in the process of creating Earth-like conditions in other solar systems and even within this solar system so that they can transport some of the population as a slave labor force to those locations. So I don't think...
There's a lot going on with Mars, isn't there? There's
Yeah.
a lot. I'm sure there's a civilization up in Mars already. I'm sure of it.
There has been since the 1950s, actually.
Yeah.
I did write about that in my Blue Blood book and talk about that on some of my DVDs. But yes, the goal, really, of the Illuminati, once they have complete control of this planet, which they almost do, is to then create a new intergalactic empire and spread out and fan out across the universe and start controlling everything.
Because Stephen Hawking said something about that about 3-4 years ago, that we need to go out to other planets because this world is becoming overpopulated. So again, that is another option. So the reason why the culling of the population resonates with me, I feel it's true, is because now everybody's being made redundant. The crashing of the economy is one of these, is the symptom. It's because then they can replace us all with machines and computers. They don't really need us anymore for a slave race.
Well, you know, they do need people to work the fields and do some of this other work. You know, it's like they need their servants, and they want their servants. And, you know, quite honestly, if they wanted to eliminate everyone, they could have done that already. I mean, very simply. They could have easily released the virus into the atmosphere. It would have killed billions in one day. You know, so my feeling is that if they were going to do it, they would have done it. I think they're just getting the people ready for the understanding that the planet, which is not true, by the way, that the planet is becoming uninhabitable and we need to look elsewhere. So to encourage people to go to other worlds. Remember, David Icke easily said in his books, you create the situation so that the solution you want imposed is then accepted by the population.
Yeah.
Problem,
reaction, solution.
Yes.
We've got a caller, Stuart. I'm going to bring him on.
Hello?
Hello, caller. Can I take your name, please? Hello? Oh, I've muted them. 1 minute. Let's see if I can...
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, Debbie?
Hiya. Can I take your name?
Sure, this is Elena.
Hello, Elena. Have you got a question for Stuart?
Yes. Hi, Stuart. Thanks for all of your work. I appreciate it very much. I saw you. I woke up recently during the night, and the back of my head was sort of buzzing. You know, like really intensely, like it was physical. It wasn't just like an imagination. It was really physical. And also I felt like my feet were sort of dissolving. Yeah. And I was kind of scared. And then I just sort of said, whoa, stop it. I don't want this to happen. And then it stopped. I just wondered, what is that? Was that such an attack or how?
Okay. Well, where do you live, Alana?
In Switzerland.
Yeah. Western or eastern part?
In Zurich.
In Zurich. And, you know, I used to work a lot in Zurich. And Switzerland, yes, I used to work in Aarau and Zurich and Lachen for many years.
God.
Yeah. And even Geneva. But, you know, what you experienced most likely involves an ELF or microwave bombardment of your area that could very often affect that part of the brain and affect the nerves to make the limbs feel the way you described.
So is it like a self-protection that I kind of woke myself up and I sort of said no to this? I mean, am I sort of safe in that sense? Because I'm really aware, you know, towards all these things.
You can't take it for granted. I do suggest that you use the violet protection techniques that I describe in my books.
Yeah.
You know, where you keep the yourself in the tetrahedron inside the octahedron, all in
Right.
violet, and that will
Right.
stop what you described.
Okay, very well. Thanks
Yes.
a lot.
Yes, you're welcome.
See you, bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you. Yeah, violet I find violet is a very healing colour. It's a spiritual colour, isn't it, Stewart?
Yeah.
I love the colour violet. Also, they say it's the colour of royalty. And what you're saying about, because I've read in your books about the royals, and they say they're blue-blooded, and they tell everybody, because have you ever been to the UK?
Oh, many times.
Oh, are you coming to the UK in recent months or years? You got any plans?
Well, I was just there last June, but this year, you know, we're going to the Baltic, in fact, the end of this month, and then I'll be going to Eastern Europe in July, so I'll be passing over you, but not exactly staying there for too long.
Oh, well, next time you come to England, give me a shout, because I'd love to come and meet you, you know, it'd be great. Yeah, and come and listen, because obviously all your talks, you know, they really do resonate with me, because it makes, I've had my own experiences, you know, and I know what you're saying is true. I know that 100%. And also, why would you want to say these things if they wasn't true? You don't need to lie. You don't need to lie to anybody.
No, I certainly don't need the ridicule either.
Exactly. But you know what they say, first of all they mock you, then they ignore you, then they listen to you, and now people are listening to you, Stewart.
Well, it's because what I've said in the past is coming true.
It's just it, you're putting your money where your mouth is, and it is all, and I'm finding that it's speeding up as well, you know.
Yes.
5 years ago, I mean, I think even 5 years ago, with a lot of what I believe today, I would have been really sceptical. But you can see it, it's there. And they're quite open about it. I mean, like a couple of weeks ago when we had your president come over and talk about the economic crisis, the front page newspapers was the New World Order.
Yeah.
You know, and a year ago, when you mentioned the New World Order, people laughed at you, but we are getting globalisation.
Yes.
Why do you think they want globalisation, though? What do you think the real reason behind it is?
Well, it's so much easier to control a population under one economy, one economic unit, one set of law, all of that, you know, equal everywhere, so that no one can have a reason to shift anywhere where they think it might be better, because the entire Earth would be under one rule. You see?
But wouldn't that be harder in a lot of ways?
Well, you know, in a way, it's already happened. What we see now as far as governments are concerned are really for public consumption only. I mean, look at the EU. All those countries, you know, which really hate each other one way or another, and they're having
wars with each other.
Yeah, and here they are. You know, they're all using one currency and have one parliament and one voice speaking for them. And same thing is happening here in North America, where people are realizing that Canada, the U.S., and Mexico are becoming part of the North American Union. And they even have a new currency called the Amero, which is about to be unleashed on the public when the final collapse of the economy occurs.
Yeah, they're just waiting to collapse the dollar and the pound, because the EU has already collapsed. The euro has already collapsed. I mean, out in Spain it's so expensive now. The same with all the European countries. It's really expensive. So they collapsed that. Now they're collapsing the dollar and they're collapsing the pound, and obviously they'll bring in this one currency.
Yes.
So that this could never happen again. We've got another caller online for you. Hello, caller.
Oh, hello, Debbie. Hello, Stewart. How you doing?
Hi, nice to see you. What's your name?
This is Anthea from New York City. How you doing?
Oh, hi, Anthea.
How you doing?
How you been? I'll see you May 20th.
Yes, I know.
I don't have a car, but I'll find a way to get there. Obama recently was talking about how he was going to skip going to the moon because I think Bush wanted to go to the moon and then go to Mars, but Obama wants to go straight to Mars. And recently on your in the news on your website, you talked about there's like an object that's going backwards around the sun.
Yes, right.
And you think it might be a satellite. Well, can you tell us about the what's going on in the Kuiper's Belt?
Well, actually, Anthea, that was part of my lecture that I'll be giving in New Jersey next week about what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
Because as you may know, and the listeners should know as well, there's a lot of activity going on in the Kuiper's Belt, which is the zone at the edge of the solar system past Pluto, and where they have seen so many objects suddenly appear and start moving around. And the Illuminati are a little bit nervous about that because they don't know who or what they are, what their agenda is. But that's something actually we're going to be talking about in the lecture that you're coming to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, yeah.
Yeah, you better find a way to get there, Anthea.
I will. I'll take the bus.
I'd love to be there. I haven't got a car at the moment, so I know what you're going through, Anthea.
Yeah,
So,
I had to get rid of it, yeah.
Yeah, mine died. It died a natural death. I'll be getting one in a couple of weeks. So what's this spell called, Stewart? The Kuiper spell?
Kuipers, the Kuipers spell. It's really a Dutch word that was named after the Dutch scientist who discovered it. And if you remember, about 2 or 3 years ago, almost every week, almost every day even, NASA was saying that they would find another object in this region of space. And it became a little obvious that they were concerned about it and that they didn't know what it was. And that's when they started to reclassify Pluto, claiming that it was part of those objects all along. And in that way, taking away the mystery of what's going on out there. And then they just kind of dropped the whole thing and they don't say anything about it anymore. But that's there's a lot of things appearing of all different shapes and sizes out there, and the Illuminati don't know who or what they are.
Do you think? I'm sorry. Do you think they'll interfere?
No, go on.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. No, I was going to say, do you think this will interfere with any of our plans of traveling to the other planets within the solar system?
Well, my feeling is whomever is out there has their own agenda.
Yeah.
And even if they are against the Illuminati and wish to eliminate them, what are they going to do when they do that?
Yeah.
It's just going to trade one dictator for another.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what always scares me.
Yeah, but ultimately, this planet is at a point where it does need to join into, the planetary community, if you will, hopefully in a benevolent way, but I think in the beginning it's going to be a bit rough.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like joining a new family when you marry into a new family. It's a bit rough.
Yeah, and we all know that.
Yeah, all of us that have been married at some stage or another. Yeah. So with these other dimensions, obviously you've done it as remote viewing. Is that right? It was all
No, not remote viewing. See, here's something, again, where I differ from what's out there. And that is remote viewing is a U.S. government agenda that they wanted to teach to the public to make the public think that that's what the government was really doing. But that is not how they look at things. The Montauk Project was all about how to view from a hyperspace perspective, using human beings as a scanner and then developing technology based on what they could find out. And that's what's going on now. They're able to tap into frequencies just by knowing the numerical values of a person or a place or a thing. They can tap into it instantly by knowing the vibratory rate of that person, place, or thing. And that's how they find out about what's going on in other places.
Because they work very much on numerology, don't they? I mean, 9/11, that is a numerological number. And also your emergency services is 9/11. Like when we had 7/7 over here, well, 777, that's always counted as a lucky number.
Yeah.
So, but all numbers have its own frequencies, would you say?
Well, each person, so for example, you have a frequency rate, a rate of vibration that is unique to you.
I'm in numerology. I'm a 9.
Yeah, but it goes beyond that. You're looking at numerology. This is not numerology. This is actual frequency or vibration of the physical being and of their energy system. And that is what they tap into because it's unique for each person.
Right. I get you, because we're all individuals and we've all got our own resonance, our own energy field, and everyone is unique. But I suppose some are more susceptible to others. Is it something that they can train anybody to do from a young age, or do you have to have these special qualities?
Well, theoretically, anyone can be trained to do it. However, that's like saying anyone can be trained to be an Olympic swimmer. That doesn't mean that in practice it works that way.
Yeah.
So there are certain people that have the capacity based on their genetics and their mind pattern, and they know who those people are, and they can train them to do that.
But it's like what you were saying about blonde hair, blue eyes. I mean, I think this is why the Nazis were so obsessed with the Aryan race. It's because they're more susceptible to mind control.
Their genetics have an enzyme that allows for mind control input. And that is why it is a more desirable feature in humanity, not because it's beautiful, but because it's controllable.
I find, though, with German people and Russian people, I find that they're very intelligent as well.
Well, I'm Russian.
You know. Are you? I'll tell you something. I've never, ever met a thick Russian or a thick German. Never. And again, I think that comes with the Aryan race, you know. I mean, they are very, very intelligent, but academically intelligent. I think they're very good at sort of taking and absorbing orders.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
And you have to also remember it's conditioning, because those countries were used to being under dictatorships for many, many years, and so it became a way of life that they just assumed would be the continuation.
Right, yeah. So, what do you think about aliens, though, and what's going on with the UFOs? I think I'm quite sceptical about a lot of it. I'm wondering if a lot of it is earthly based. It's all, again, a distraction. You know, I do believe, obviously, there is other alien life forms and other life out there. Of course there is. But do you think that some of our politicians and people in high power, do you think that they may be walk-ins?
You mean, do they know about it, or I didn't?
Well, whether they know or not, you know, like, because obviously with the secret societies, you know, they take part in rituals and.
I understand what you're saying. You use the term walk-ins, yes?
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. If you know about genetics and mind patterns, the mind pattern is electromagnetic. And as it enters into physical reality, it accumulates or attracts atomic structure, which then forms the protein bases of the DNA that form your body. So literally, what you think is what you become. And your body is tailor-made to fit your mind pattern. But if there is a walk-in, then we have a problem, because there's a mind pattern that did not fit the body, and therefore cannot last for too long a period of time. A lot of the so-called walk-in concepts that we hear about is from the New Age, and the New Age was created by the U.S. government in 1965 as a way
Rockefellers are behind that, aren't they? The Rockefellers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So theoretically, walk-ins cannot survive a long period of time because they don't match the body and burn it out. So it's really like a carjacking, only it's a body jacking, if you will. So no, I don't believe in that in the way that it's promoted out there in the so-called New Age. But yes, there are alien beings out there. The universe is teeming with life, but I agree with you that what we see here on the Earth now is mostly from here. And a lot the technology is alien, but a lot of the vehicles and a lot of what we see in the skies are from here. And a lot of it is also from what is called Blue Beam Project, which you may have heard about.
Yes.
Which is holographic images projected into the atmosphere in order to give the appearance of some physical object.
Because there's a lot of talk that they're going to soon bring around an object of Christ, isn't it, in Revelation?
Yes, exactly correct. Yes.
Yeah. And also they can project anything they want, because that's all it is. Blue Beam is a big holographic projection.
Yeah.
But of course, the masses out there that don't know what it's all about, of course, they're going to become hysterical and lay down and give up everything because they're going to be terrified.
Well, that's the idea.
Yeah, and it's down on people like you to educate them before it's too late.
It's going slowly.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's really starting to speed up now, Stewart. It's a rotten job, but someone's got to do it.
I know.
Well, you've got people like me behind you, and we're all doing our bit as well. I mean, what made you sort of go public? Because it's such a brave thing to do. You are so brave, honestly. I don't think I would have done it.
Well, I tell you what. I don't know if I'm brave or just stupid, but but
there's a fine line.
yes, it is. But you know, it was something really because of the Montauk Project. When I was deprogrammed from that, I realized the horrible things that it involved. And I did feel a sort of an obligation to do my part to correct the damage that was done out there. Plus, there was a time period back then when I really felt I was not going to stay alive. And so I wanted to put out the information immediately for my children so that they would know what happened to me and why. And it kind of snowballed from there. Because then other people heard about it and they started to talk about it. And before you know it, I was giving lectures and writing books about it, and it kind of just happened, you know? So I didn't wake up with... Yeah.
My money, because you said, I heard you say on a radio interview, you was blind for 29 years.
Yeah.
Was she physically blind?
Yeah, physically blind because, you know, in the Montauk Project, they were trying to create a person who could see into other realities without the use of a device. And the side effect of the experiments on me were that my physical eyes could not see, but my brain could see. They opened up that 90% of the brain that isn't used. So I could see mentally. I could drive a car then. I could walk around. You know, the only problem that I had was if it was snowing out or raining out, and you know, all of that has energy, so I would just see energy fields, and I couldn't really go through that because it was just a big blur, see? And so, and it was about exactly 10 years ago that I had surgery to reconnect the way my optic nerves interact with the brain so that I could physically see again as well. But when they removed the bandages, I didn't know if I could see anything, or if I would just see the energy or the physical. I had no idea. And then what happened was it was kind of like an overlay, so that in addition to seeing the energy fields that I see, I also was able to see physical reality.
Was you able to see your children when they were born? Or
No, I
could you just see them?
I really couldn't. Not physically the way a person would see others. I could see their energy, and I knew in my mind what they look like, you see. But physically not.
So I suppose when you got your eyesight back, the world looked a really colourful, wonderful place, or did it look the opposite to you? Is it like reading a book? You know, when you read a book, you've got your own picture in your own mind, and then someone makes a film of it. 9 times out of 10, it's a big disappointment.
Yes. Well, you know, it's funny because some things were like, wow, look at that, and some things were like, oh, my God, is that what that is?
Is that what all the fuss was about?
Yeah. And, you know, quite honestly, Debbie, that even today, even though I travel all over the world, when I'm home, I don't even go to the mailbox because I don't want to go out.
I can't say I blame you.
Yeah.
Mind you, I suppose with all the travelling you do, you're just happy to be at home.
Yeah.
But like, oh, I'm not going out. I'm staying in.
I know, and that's a big joke around here because, he never goes out of the house. And I say, well, I do, but when I go out of the house, I go to China and, South Africa and Brazil.
Some people just pop to the mall, but when you go out, you're one extreme to the other. You either go thousands and hundreds of miles.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
With time travel, did you have experience yourself with time travel?
Yes, you mean at Montauk Project?
See, can I tell you what my take on time travel is?
Sure.
Is when people say to me about time travel, I believe everything's happening at once.
Yes.
So if you go in one dimension, they might be 200 years ahead of us. You go in another dimension, they might be 200 years behind us. But everything's going on at once. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yes, exactly. I call it simultaneous existence. Mm-hmm. Or the eternal now, and really there is no past, present, and future. There's just the now, and it's a matter of where you're focusing. So yes, I agree. There really isn't anything except focusing on a specific point in time and space.
Because we're always living in the now, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, tomorrow never comes, and yesterday's always gone.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah,
and so when I teach people how to work the mind, I teach them to look at existence as if it is all one simultaneously, and because in the mind of God there is no differentiation.
See, in my job, I mean, like I'm a medium and I'm a psychic tarot reader, and once one of my guides, and I didn't understand what he was trying to tell me at the time. And I had a thing about Jupiter. Like when my kids used to say to me, "Where's heaven, Mum?" Because in our minds we have to place it, we have to label it, don't we? And I said, "Oh, we go to Jupiter," because it just sort of made sense to me at the time. Where Jupiter's about 300 times bigger than the Earth, and I just said, "Well, we go to Jupiter." And I asked my guide, I said, "Well, where's heaven?" And he said, "It's everywhere." And it didn't make any sense, where now it does, because we just go from one dimension into another, and it's all going on now, and it is everywhere. It's all around us all the time.
Exactly. That's true.
Yeah.
It's just a question of where you want to focus. And people who have a hard time understanding that, I tell them it's happening with you right now. And I say, for example, right now it could be afternoon on a Monday here, but at the same moment it's Tuesday morning in Japan. So how could you be in two different days at the same time? Well, if you extrapolate that into eternity, you can see that all existence is happening at the same moment.
Exactly. Same as the sun never sets.
Yes.
It never rises, it never sets. It's just in one place.
That's right. Exactly.
There's supposed to be things going on around the back of the sun. Have you heard anything about that, Stewart?
Yes, there's a lot of things going on back there, and in fact, there, and this has been, even the governments have admitted it, that the north and south poles of the Earth are being bombarded artificially with intense ELF and microwave. Now, they claim that they don't know where it's coming from, but when they trace it out, it goes towards the sun and even into and behind the sun. And if we understand about certain sciences, we know that stars are the opposites of black holes. Stars send out energy and black holes absorb energy, and they are the link between physical realities and dimensions, so it kind of keeps the energy flowing in an even way throughout all of existence. So there is energies that are coming in through the sun and from behind the sun that are affecting the entire solar system and galaxy and everything around us. As far as objects are concerned, yes, there is an object that has been identified on a part of the sun that we cannot see from the Earth because of the rotation of the Earth and the orbit of the Earth, and it seems to be pacing the planet so that we cannot ever physically see it, at least not yet.
Not yet. What do you think about Planet X?
Oh, well, that has also been called Nibiru and Marduk, and I wrote back in 2003, and a lot of people, again, may have controversy with this, but I wrote that in April of 2003 it was destroyed as it passed Jupiter.
Yes, and I saw, there's a video out there because the sun, by all accounts, swallowed it up.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And interestingly, it was in March of 2003 that the U.S. invaded Iraq and went right to Baghdad, because underneath Baghdad were stargates that were connected to Nibiru, and they wanted to make sure that there would be no escaping.
Mm-hmm. Also, there's all these ancient artifacts and everything in Baghdad, because that was the original society, the first ever, the Sumerians, wasn't it?
Yes.
Am I right? Yeah, Mesopotamia and all around there. And obviously they don't want us finding out the information, because it's the magician and his tricks. And if the magician tells you his tricks, he's not a magician anymore. They don't want us to know. My take on 2012 is I think 2012 is going to come and go just like any other year. And same with, there's going to be a lot of people disappointed come the 23rd of December 2012.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I'm glad someone agrees with me, because most people, they're all gearing up, same as with these pole shifts they're supposed to be having.
Well, you remember what happened in 2000 with Y2K, which I said is not going to happen, and it didn't. And you're right, December 22nd, 2012 will dawn just like any other day of the year.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do with the end of the world. It has to do with an Illuminati agenda. They just want to make sure that by 2012 they have complete and solid control of everything on Earth. That's what that means.
Do you know what? That's what I say. You've hit them now right on the edge, and that's what I say to everyone. 2012 is the completion year. This is why it's starting to speed up now, because they want everything in place for 2012. And they're putting out all these psyops like Planet X and the end of the world and Armageddon, so that we all accept that we're doomed, and we accept whatever's coming to us.
Right. Because people who are in fear will do anything to save themselves and listen to whomever tells them there's a solution. So that's why they're promoting all this fear with 2012, so people get so afraid that they'll do whatever the government says will save them.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, do you think that there will be a war?
Well, I think there will be a staged alien invasion where they will use the Blue Beam Project to make you think the Earth is being attacked. And they will they'll even have explosions on the Earth that'll look like we are really being attacked. And the point of that is so that the entire world is in such fear that they claim the only way to repel this attack and to find a solution is by unifying under one government, so that we're all doing the same thing and helping in the same way. And that's how they will solidify the New World Order government. And then they will have a savior race come in to protect us from this evil attack. And of course, the savior race will look like the reptilian, who then will claim that we are its descendants and that they were the first colonists on the Earth. And then we'll have the second staged coming of Christ, who will proclaim the New World Order as his new holy empire.
What about the Pope? I can't, because that means the Pope's got to sit down, because he's taking care of the world until Jesus comes back.
Yeah,
so, how will the Pope cope with it?
Well, he's going to have to go on unemployment, I think, at that point. Yeah, definitely. But and good riddance to him, because he was a Nazi. He was a Nazi when he was a child.
Yeah, that's right. And he looks quite a sick individual. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could kick him.
On my website, I had a picture of him up there with with his arms stretched out, making this blessing, and then right next to it, I had a picture of the evil emperor from Star Wars, and they looked identical.
I've seen that picture of him with his arm out, and I just felt Hitler. That is Hitler. You know, I wonder if Obama's going to be set up as the Antichrist. I mean, I feel we've had a few. I mean, whether he is or not, we don't know. But I'm wondering if he's being... We can bring in this new Messiah, because you've got to have the Antichrist first, haven't you? Before we can get... If you're coming towards the biblical side of things, the Bible. Yeah. I'm surprised how much I know about the Bible. I've only learned all this last couple of years. But from what I understand from the Bible, it says the Antichrist is going to be in control for 3.5 years, and then we're going to get the Messiah. So I'm wondering if Obama's being set up as the Antichrist.
Well, there's been a lot of that talk that I've heard since he took office.
And me.
And I wouldn't...
I've got my own... No. And so, but what do you think? Do you think he's being set up as the Antichrist?
Well, I think he's being set up.
And definitely.
He's not who people think he is.
No, definitely not.
And I think if they found out, they would run him out of town. But yes, I think it's a possibility.
Yeah. There's talk now, there's people wanting to get him out already. But the thing is it got voted in fair and square. People should have done their homework before voting for him.
But, you know, it's interesting. You know, Debbie, when he took office in January, we were in the Mediterranean, we were in Italy and Greece and Egypt and Turkey and places like that. And every place that we went, everyone was so thrilled about Obama taking office. That was like the Messiah had finally come.
I know. Yeah. What surprised me, Stuart, is these people that are supposed to be learned, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, they're all puppets, you know. Yeah. There's no such thing as Democrats. There's no such thing as conservative. You know, there's one man at the top pulling the strings. That's all it is. And as the saying goes, it doesn't matter who you vote for, the government get in.
Well, you know, I always say, same crap, different toilet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and that surprised me on how people were so fooled and hoodwinked, you know.
Yes.
And you know, and now, I mean, I said he's going to bring in things that people are not going to like, you know, and I think he's going to make the Bush look like Tinkerbell by the time he finishes. He's already started. And he'll get away with more than what Bush ever could.
Well, you know, Bush was, I think, one of the most evil people on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so interesting that now you never hear a word about him. It's like he vanished. You know?
That's right, yes. Or Cheney, or Rumsfeld. It's like they've vanished from the face of the earth, haven't they?
Exactly. Well, maybe they went back into their little reptilian holes, you know.
Maybe. They're underground caves.
Yes, but, you know, I'll tell you that it's also interesting that in Texas, where he went back to, that is where there's been so many UFO sightings in the last few months. You know? Yeah, a lot of them, and even documented by so-called officials who claim they've also seen them. And the interesting thing also is that now the news media does not ridicule people for reporting UFOs and make fun of them, but they rather take them seriously.
I know, because they're priming us up.
Right, exactly.
I've noticed that over here as well, you know, and there was something on the news about UFO activity. Instead of ha, scoff, they're taking it. But again, they're trying to prime us up for this artificial, fake, alien stage attack. And also, all the while we're fighting the aliens, I mean, as you say, it's multiverse, universe, it's out there, and it can last forever.
Yeah.
And ever. Yeah, no,
but that's a good point that you made, because if there's an evil enemy out there in space, you know, lurking around, then of course we all have to be under one government, one army, one control. We have to be unified, you know, to be prepared for what's out there. So that makes perfect sense that they would create that kind of a fear.
But what the question I want to ask you as well is, you know, a lot of them they want to get rid of Christianity, they want to get rid of religions, right, and bring in this Luciferian religion, right? What would be the purpose though of really a Luciferian religion connected with UFOs?
Well, you have to understand that the reptilian religion is based in the astral levels where there are demonic entities. And so the purpose of the mind control and programming, especially sexual ritual, is to invoke through sexual activity these astral entities who can then incorporate in the body of what they call the vessel, who they use that body to manifest in the world, and then they have contact with the astral level, and they bring that energy into the physical reality. And so the New World religion will have a lot of these rituals of sexual activity, sacrifice, ritual suicide. All of this will be part of that New World religion. And I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago on BBC, on New Year's Eve, I believe it was either 2005 or 6, they had this Chinese Christian man eating a dead baby and saying he was doing it for Christ. Do you remember that?
I probably didn't see it, because anything like that, I'd turn it off.
Yeah.
But, you know, but look what the Chinese are doing, like with the well, it's going to go worldwide because they're using overpopulation, but the one-child policies, you know, if a woman is sort of 8 months into utero, they will rip that baby out of her. You know, and obviously, I mean, I now know why they're encouraging abortion, because they want the parts for cloning and also for vaccination, because we're in the vaccines now, there's part of fetuses, and this is why our kids are going crackers, because it's cannibalism.
Yeah.
But, you know, and a lot of people are evil, and they don't even realise it. I mean, when you're wishing, that I hear people say, like what we were saying earlier, overpopulation, the world can't sustain us. That's a load of crap.
Yes.
You know, the Creator only gives what the world can handle. I've had 6 miscarriages, so I know personally how hard a journey we all have to get here. You know, and if the world couldn't cope with any more babies, the Creator won't give them to us. Simple.
Yes.
You know,
and
yeah.
When I travel all over the world, you know, and I see that there's such vast, empty territory on this planet. I mean, vast.
Yeah.
And that's
well,
used.
It's what I heard, right, and they said if you was to put everyone on Earth into one place, we could all live in Texas, and we'd all be comfortable just like the people in London. You know?
Yes. But, you know, I wouldn't want to live in Texas.
I've never been. But as you're saying, there's 6.5 billion of us. It sounds a lot, but it's not really.
I know.
And I'd say today, there's less people around today than what there was 300 years ago. You know, because you have smaller families, people still die young. They're dying of cancers, they're dying of wars, they're dying of childbirth, you know. Women and men, we're still dying young. And I'd say that probably there's less people today than what there was 300 years ago. But they didn't have records 300 years ago.
And, you know, they also change history. They rewrite it so that you believe what they want you to believe. Exactly.
As I say, history's written by the victor, isn't it?
Yes.
You know. And I also heard that they changed all the history books years ago as well. Again, to fit in with the agenda, isn't it?
Yes, in fact, I was doing a seminar in Texas a few years ago, and there was an elderly gentleman there who told me that when he was a little boy in like 1920, he was reading books in public school about how Admiral Byrd went to the North Pole and found an entire, you know, warm weather and animals and dinosaurs and all kinds of stuff up there. And he said they used to read it out loud in school for the whole year. And then one day they took all the books away and replaced them with these other books that completely eliminated the story.
Yeah. I wonder why. I wonder why. Didn't they want us to know that some parts of the North Pole is quite habitable?
No, because, you know, that's the entrance to the inner Earth up there. And, of course, they don't want anyone knowing about that.
Yeah, because there's the hollow Earth theory, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And they say that in the hollow Earth there's a sun.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know about? Would you mind telling us what you know about the hollow Earth? Because that fascinates me.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I've done entire lectures, and it's in my books. I wrote about it because it's scientific fact, and I'll explain. When a planet is formed by being thrown as molten material out of the sun, as that molten material is thrown into cold space, it starts to spin. And as it spins, the outside starts to harden, and the molten material is underneath. But the centrifugal force of the spin causes the molten material inside to move to the sides. And then that creates a hole in the upper and lower portions, like a north and south pole, where material is then ejected. And then the coldness of space causes the inside of that globe to start to harden, and it traps the molten material between an inner layer and an outer layer, which is why we have tectonic plates and molten material under the Earth. But in the very center of that hollow space is the leftover molten material that is hung there by centrifugal force. And that is what we have in the center of the Earth. So in effect, it's not really a sun. It's the remainder molten material of the initial ejection from the star that's still suspended there in anti-gravity, if you will, and that causes an inner sun to create.
Right. Do you think there's life there? Or do you know if there's life there?
Oh, yes, there is. Atmosphere in there. There's water. There's plant growth. There's animal. There are beings in there. I have to say that they're not friendly beings, but they do exist in there.
Do you think they're the reptilians?
Oh, yeah, there are reptilians, and there are others. There are many different forms in there because, unfortunately, a lot of other beings entered this planet at the North and South Poles and created their own little spots, if you will, in the inner Earth.
Societies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it reminds me of that book. I can't think of that book. You know where they have the Middle Earth? What's that book? Tolstoy? God.
Journey to the Center of the Earth?
Yeah, but the one with the two towers. Oh, God. The Lord of the Rings, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure, because they do tell you in their own way. They do tell you about these things, but they dress it up as fiction. But a lot of fiction is fact.
Yes.
It's just that we laugh it off because it's dressed up as fiction. We just believe it's fiction.
That's very correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, who came here first? Would you say it was the planet of the apes first, or would you say it was the reptilians?
And I do write about this in my Blue Blood book. And the truth of the matter is that the reptilians were the first colonists here. And that's why they consider it to be their planets. And
so we're the ones that, well, not me personally, because of my blood group. But no, but we're the ones that took over their planet then.
Well, from their perspective, yes. But we have to understand something first, and that is that the human race began in the Lyrae star system. That was
is that Lyria?
Yeah, Lyra, Lyra.
Yeah.
And that system was attacked by the reptilians, and the human survivors spread out all over the known universe at the time. And several of those groups colonized what we now know as Mars, which was very Earth-like, and they also colonized a planet called Maldek, which was between Mars and Jupiter. And when the reptilians discovered the colonies of humans there, they sent an ice comet to destroy those worlds, and basically it caused Maldek to explode, which is why we have the asteroid belt there now, and it ripped off the atmosphere of Mars, creating a desert-like world that we have now. But the Earth at the time was only the second planet from the sun, and it was covered in water. And when the ice comet approached the Earth, they went into a rotational spin. It caused the water on Earth to polarize and create the north and south poles, and a lot of water was then flown off into space. And then the ice comet became the second planet from the sun, and the Earth was pushed out into the third position. And then the ice on the ice comet melted, creating a cloud cover, which we now know as on Venus. It became Venus.
Yeah.
And so the Earth was then colonizable. And so the reptilians then drove a vehicle into our system, which we now know as the moon, and they colonized the Earth. So yes, even though they were the first colonists on the planet, it's because they tried to kill all the humans on Mars and Maldek.
The humans must have been very intelligent to have been able to have done that anyway. So it just goes to show the intelligence that is in the human spirit. Because the way, like, the media and the people in control, they like to make us humans feel that we're stupid and we're the blame for everything.
Yeah.
Because they don't really want us to know how intelligent, to be able to do all that and survive all that. That shows that we have a real strong survival skill and the intelligence to survive.
Yes, very adaptable.
Yeah.
And able to get through and that's what the reptilians are not, because they are not adaptable, which is why they need to make environments the same all the time, whereas humans can adapt to different changes for the most part.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't like change, but we can adapt if we have to.
Exactly.
That's part of our makeup, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know?
Whereas the reptilian brain, is fight or flight. It's one of those two extremes. There's nothing in the middle.
Right. What about, I don't know if you believe all this, but say like Neanderthal man. Do you think Neanderthal man was indigenous to this planet anyway? That us humans, we were a totally different race? Because like as they say, through evolution, we came up through breaking rocks and Neanderthal man, caveman. Do you think that was a load of sort of mumbo-jumbo?
Yeah, because, this planet was uninhabitable. It was a water world. There was no land masses that could sustain life until all of this happened. And humanity was brought here from elsewhere, did not develop here. That's why, the planet is kind of hostile to human life forms, and that's why we have to wear clothing and we get viruses and all, because it's a hostile environment. It's not natural to us here.
Exactly. It's just not natural, and this is why, because I believe, like, we're eternal. We live forever. We just, one body dies, and then we become, our spirit lives on, and sometimes we come back, and sometimes we don't. But they say that millions of years ago, it was nothing unusual to live to about 400 years old.
Or even more, like 1,000 years or more.
Yeah. But can you imagine the learning we would have had, because really our lives are very, very short, aren't they? So we're not here long enough to learn. We only learn so much. Mm-hmm. And even if we come back again, a lot of the past life memory has gone, not unless it comes back in regression.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the skills. So, and again, that was to keep us as a slave race, I believe.
Yeah, and that's why I like to teach simultaneous existence, so that you can tap into those lifetimes right now and accumulate and download all that knowledge and use it now.
Yeah, that's right. I'm a past life regressionist, and I love it because you learn so much about real history. Mm-hmm. Not the history, because you're getting that information from people that are being regressed. Mm-hmm. And obviously they don't know what they're talking about, and they're telling you things that sound alien to them because of what they've learned through history. It doesn't make sense.
Yes, that's
and this is where you really do get to the truth of things. What about animals? What do you think of animals?
Yes, and I talk about this as well. When the reptilians came here, they brought their creatures with them, which we know as the dinosaurs. And when humans came here, they brought mammalian creatures with them. And there was a conflict because reptilian life form and mammalian life form are not supposed to live together. They just need different environments and different situations. So that's why there was conflict. And believe it or not, the reason the dinosaurs died out was not because a comet struck the Earth, but it was because the Atlanteans killed them because they wanted them out.
Yeah. Also, I mean, if we had dinosaurs walking the Earth, we wouldn't be here because the dinosaurs, probably the meat eaters, would have ate us.
Well, that's exactly right, and that's why they tried to exterminate them.
Yeah.
But interestingly, there's still a couple of pockets on the Earth where dinosaurs still exist, and one of them is in the eastern.
Hello, Stewart, can you hear me?
Yes, finally.
Oh, we got kicked out.
What happened?
And it all went down. We got loads of people in the chat room. We had loads of item watch. We had loads of callers call at once, and I think it just blocked the system. And the system went down. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, yeah, I kept trying to call back, and I couldn't get
Can
through.
you hear me? Hello?
Yes. Hello? Can you hear me?
We've got a delay, Stewart.
Okay.
Hello, Stewart. One minute. We've got a delay. I think, one sec, let's take this off. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you very well.
Lovely. What I've said, what you heard 3 times, is where I've said it, and then it's played again, and it's played again. We had about 5 people try and call in, I think, at once, and it just knocked the system right down.
Ah, okay.
And I also wondered if the powers that be wanted to cut us off.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Because, you know, that's happened to me before on radio stations.
That's happened to me as well, when I've had guests that come on that are quite controversial.
Ah.
And I get this problem, you know. But I still carry on getting the controversial guests on. The chat room was teeming. There's so many people in the chat room. If we can have, it's hard to sort of, because they'll try and phone at once. The thing is to say is if we can have one caller come on, as soon as one hangs up, then another one rings in. Try not all to ring in at once, people, because it will knock the system off, and then no one gets through. We've got so many people that want to talk to you, Stuart.
Okay.
You know, which is lovely, because they're all so positive, you know. Everybody is coming in. It's showing you the work's getting out there. People are listening.
Well, that's wonderful.
You know.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. And the work, your work, it's not in vain. There must have been times when you felt like giving up. You know.
Oh, sometimes I do.
Don't give up. Don't give up. You're getting there.
Yeah, well.
I'm just trying to get into the chat room now, and that seems to be blocked. You're very popular.
Well, okay. You know, it's nice to hear that, and
yeah.
You know, I'm glad that everyone's interested, and if they can hear me out there, I appreciate you all very much.
Well, I can hear you now, and you can hear me, so obviously, because I was in the chat room too, and I was saying, can you hear me? And they was all saying, no, we can't hear nothing. But I could talk to them. I was trying to type and look back on and do everything at once.
Yes, well, you're very talented.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well,
as we were saying, I've really enjoyed this interview with you. I knew it was going to be great. I just knew it, and I've been looking forward to this for weeks, and I've been telling everybody, you know, I've got Stewart Swerdlow coming on, you know, and I've been so excited because with you, you know your stuff, you know.
Yeah. I do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I do wish that one day I could come on your show and tell everyone that how wonderful things are now in the world.
Well, we can pray, can't we?
Yeah.
You know. What I do want to ask you is, would you come back on again in about 6 months' time?
Any time that I'm available, you can have me.
Oh, lovely. Well, I'd have you once a week if I could.
Well, better start booking the dates.
Oh, that'd be wonderful, but yeah, I mean, anytime you want to come on, well, when this interview finishes, we'll arrange another day. Let me know what date is good for you, right, and I'll book you in around about this time because I work. So around about this time would be great for me, but I can't do Monday nights because I work to 11, and I work to 11 on a Saturday.
Uh-huh. Well, I do travel a lot, and, as you know, I'll be in the east coast of the U.S. next week, and then we're off to Iceland and the Baltic and Russia.
I bet you're really excited about that, aren't you?
Yeah, that should be quite a trip, and anyone out there who wants to come, there's still some room left on the cruise. So people who want to come, they should just email into the Expansion's website, and we'll take care of that for you.
Yeah. So anybody that wants to go on these cruises, you're in New Jersey. Is it next week you're in New Jersey?
Yeah, I believe it's the week of the 18th that I'll be there.
And then you're going over to the Baltics?
Yeah, first to Iceland, and then to Denmark, and then all the way across to Russia, and then back through Finland, and back to Denmark, and then back here. And then in July, I will be in Eastern Europe, in Romania, and Bulgaria, and Ukraine.
Oh, so you're doing a lot of traveling. A lot. You're going all around. By the time you finish, I think there might be a place on Earth you haven't been to.
Well, there really isn't.
You're a very travelled man. Very travelled.
Yeah, true. But I must tell the audience that in January of 2010, we'll be doing the culmination trip to Antarctica, and I would love to have them all come with me.
Oh, yeah. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So anyone that wants to go to Antarctica or anywhere, just let Stewart know,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And Stewart will help you arrange it. Is that right, Stewart?
Yes, and I have a special offer to all of your listeners for today and tomorrow. If you go on my website and you order any of the promotional items that are on there that are on sale, we will give everyone who writes in Destiny Debbie in the comments box an additional 10% off the sale products.
Oh, so did you hear that,
yes.
people? So if you write in Destiny Debbie, you will get 10% discount. Is that right, Stewart?
An additional, because we already have a sale going on, and anyone who puts the comment in Destiny Debbie today and tomorrow will get an extra 10% off as my thank you to all of you listeners out there on your show.
Well, I'll tell you something. I mean, because this goes out and then I book it live on MySpace. So anyone that goes on MySpace will hear it. Anyone that goes onto my profile, I post it out in bulletins, I post it out in blogs, and I post it out on my profile. So you're going to get a lot of people, Stewart.
Okay.
Right. I've got GeoMedium ask a question, because what they're going to start doing now, I think, is they're going to start asking me through the chat room instead of everyone trying to ring in at once and block up the system. And this person, I'm not sure if it's a male or a lady, I'm not sure, but Holy Grail and a Tibetan bell, is there a connection, Stewart?
Can you please, Debbie, repeat that question?
Sure. The Holy Grail and the Tibetan bell, is there a connection?
Well, not exactly. The Holy Grail, as you know, is the genetics of the merger of the Christ figure with Mary Magdalene. That's really what the Holy Grail was about. And the Tibetan bell information had to do with the frequency that was unfortunately connecting to the reptilians.
Right. Right. So there's not really a connection between the pair of them.
No.
See, no. I think the Holy Grail, I think that that's the bloodline, obviously.
Yes,
I'm wondering if they're expecting a baby. Have you ever seen the film Omen 3?
Haven't seen that, no.
Right. I think that film explains it best. And that's when, because Omen 1 and 2 is about Damien and the Antichrist. Omen 3 says that the new Messiah is born. right? And there's a star. The star came around about 1995, and they reckon that the new Messiah will be born in England. And I feel it's going to be the same story. It's going to be like a poor woman, you know, that has nothing to do with anything, and this baby's going to come out of nowhere. And I think that's why there's so much interest in the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And that's the bloodline.
Yes. Well, you know, they're already setting up, as you know, the body of Princess Diana for worship as the new Holy Mother of the staged Second Coming. So, yes, Britain does play a very important role in the New World religion.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It does. Britain plays an important role in the New World Order, full stop, really.
Yes.
Because it's the economy, London is the economic part of the Holy Trinity, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, the Queen, she's the head of the Queen of England, even though Charles has said he don't want nothing to do with it, with the Church of England, when he becomes king, if he becomes king, that is. And also, they reckon that they've got bloodlines going back to Jesus. That's why they're kings and queens.
Right.
As well, yeah. Yeah, no. Right, I've got Martin here, and he asks, why are the Illuminati so interested, excuse my language, right on what we were talking about, right? Why are the Illuminati so interested in a specific place of Jerusalem? Is it about vortexes and stargates? My question to Stewart. Now, can I just butt in here for a sec? I believe the New Jerusalem is going to be set up in London. If you look at the 2012, the Olympic insignia, it spells Zion. And Jerusalem, the hymn Jerusalem, was talking about England. And I think, again, there's a huge connection there. But I'll ask you that question again, Stuart. And Martin said, why are the Illuminati so interested in a specific place of Jerusalem? Is it about vortexes and stargates?
Well, that's a very, very interesting question. And the reason that they're so interested in Jerusalem is because of the magnetic quality of the earth at that point. And in fact, very close by to Jerusalem, as you know, is the Dead Sea. And under the Dead Sea, in one of the peninsulas in the Dead Sea, there is a very ancient artifact of an alien nature that is buried deep beneath that location. And it is connected to an underground area in Jerusalem. And Jerusalem in Hebrew means city of peace. And so they're going to use the city of peace to promote the New World global religion that will involve sacrifice and ritual ceremony, as we talked about earlier in the show. And so the entire Middle Eastern area is going to play a role. You're going to see the collapse of the Dome of the Rock. The Al-Aqsa Mosque will come down, and then they will rebuild the third Temple of Solomon. And then they will announce the second coming.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you think that's why they're getting rid of the Palestinians as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. They're going to get rid of them. Well, they're going to actually quiet them by giving them, they have their own little territory. But ultimately, all of that will be incorporated into this huge religious location that will be considered like the new Mecca of the earth.
Medium asked, can you ask what your thoughts are on the Kundalini activation and what its significance is in the instinctive, I think that says, instigations, I can't see the whole word, right, to the masonry, because the box is small and I can't see, I think he means the significance of the initiations, right, so the Masonry Illuminati, that's the Kundalini activation. What do you think the significance is?
Well, a premature or artificial Kundalini activation basically is when they will force open all of the chakras simultaneously. And that's what they did at Montauk Project. That's what that was all about, so that the person becomes aware of all these realities simultaneously. However, if you're not prepared for that, it would appear as if you would go insane, because you would not be able to focus in any reality at all, and then you would be completely out of it. So many of the ritual ceremonies that they do in the Masons and other organizations to force this Kundalini activation to occur is so that the person becomes so open that they can be used as an oracle to look at various dimensions and other realities to get information and bring it back to this reality. And I don't know if I've answered. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think they're doing that on a worldwide scale? But that's why they're zombifying everyone. And like with my friend, they're telling her that she's got a rare DNA and they want to change her DNA. Do you think they're trying to do that to everybody? So that we're all open?
Basically, they want everyone to be blasted open so that they could hook into their mind patterns and basically connect them to the central computer. So basically, the human race would be like the Borg, like you see on Star Trek. And that's what they want to have happen.
And that's slowly but surely happening. I mean, like with people walking around with earpieces, for mobile phones, it's getting us used to people looking more robotic, same as the Andromed's look, isn't it?
Yes, exactly correct. These days you can't tell who's male, who's female, who's black or white. And Michael Jackson was the forerunner of that, because nobody knows what he is, or what it is, I should say.
Exactly. Nobody knows. I mean, I'm wondering if this Michael Jackson is the original Michael Jackson. But again, that's to get us people used to people looking weird. When you look at all the Hollywood stars, they've had all this plastic surgery.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were born looking that way, they were the freaks. They end up looking like freaks. But again, it's that conditioning us.
Yes, because it's basically putting us in different altars and saying, this altar can look this way and that altar can look that way. And it's a known fact that when a person switches into an altar, they can actually manifest physical changes in their body. So that, one person could be, have a body that has, let's say, hepatitis, and then they switch into an altar and they're completely cured. And so there's no normalcy. There's nothing that's standard or that you can be consistent with. And that's what they want. They want people to be completely on edge so that they can be controlled.
Yeah. And they're doing a really good job, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I mean, this is like politicians. I've noticed that they change. And what David Icke said is true. I mean, years ago, we used to have a program over here. It was a series. I don't know if you ever got it in the States. And it was called Yes Minister. And on the opening credits, they all looked reptilian. And there's a lot of people you can see, and they do look reptilian. And again, with the shape-shifting, what is your take on the shape-shifting?
Yes, in fact, I spoke to David about that and I explained how that works. And that is, if you have a body that's 50% human, 50% reptilian genetically, then the body doesn't know how to manifest. So it defers to the mind pattern. So, for example, if there's a reptilian soul entity that's in that body, the body will defer to the reptilian genetics. If there is a human entity in the body, it will defer to that genetics. So many of the Illuminati have reptilian entities in this 50-50 genetically split body. So they say they defer to the reptilian side. In order to manifest the human side, they need to ingest human blood, hormones, organs like this, so that there is an energetic human or mammalian energy overriding the reptilian mind pattern, and then they shift back to human. So that's how the shape-shifting occurs, basically. It defers to whatever mind pattern is in control of the body.
I mean, I was a nurse in London, and I was working in a brand new hospital back in 2002, and the Queen came to open up the hospital, and I knew absolutely nothing, and I thought, well, I'll go down and have a look, see what the Queen looks like, and I thought that I was going to really warm to her, because us Brits, we're conditioned to believe that the poor Queen, she hasn't got a choice, she was born into a job she don't want, and she has to do it for the rest of her life. So to me, she was sort of like this little old lady, And anyway, there wasn't a big crowd. There was only about 15 people, so of course, and I saw her eye to eye. You know, she come out of her car, and she put the fear of God up me. I tell her my blood run cold. And she looked at me as if she sneered as well, and I thought that's typical. I'm working 12.5 hours a day to keep her into what she's accustomed, you know. And she sneers at me, so I turned my back and walked away. But now I wonder, was it because she was coming into a hospital and all that blood?
Well, you know, for her, it was probably a very difficult situation to maintain her form, you know, because at the hospital it was full of all that harmonics, and she probably just wanted to, you know, take all that in. But it's very interesting that you had that experience, because years ago, in fact it was 1979, I was at Buckingham Palace looking at the changing of the guards with my friend from East Acton in London. And, I started climbing up the gates. And then all of a sudden, and he started pulling at my leg. He says, Stewart, you better turn around. And I turned around, and there was the Queen, all dressed in her pink little suit and her little hat and gloves waving. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and all of a sudden I fell onto the ground and broke my foot.
Was it the shock of seeing her, or was it? Did she have the same effect on you as she did on me? I just froze at the spot. I mean, my blood ran cold, and I was so shocked.
Yeah, she's not a nice little old lady, I'll tell you that much.
No, it's like she scared the living granny out of me, and there was me expecting her to be this sweet little old lady. So, of course, I didn't go with that mindset. I thought I was going to come away and become quite a royalist. Instead, the opposite happened. Now, I've got to say on here, and Say's asked a question, can Stewart tell us where the surviving Nibirians are and where the reptilians on Earth, and where are the reptilians on Earth who wants peace?
Oh, you mean are there reptilians that are not so aggressive, so to speak? Well,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there really aren't too many of those around. You know, the good guys don't interfere. The good guys, so to speak, they let everybody work their issues out so that they know what the truth is. You know what they say in Chinese? They say if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him how to fish, you feed him for life. So the good guys basically let us learn ourselves so that we can survive. But as far as the Nibiruans that survived, I don't think there's too many that were left. The information I have is that most of them are dead, but I do assume, maybe incorrectly, but I do assume that some of them have survived, and when I get that information, I certainly will pass that on. But, you know, the reptilians, the 100% true reptilians, they're all under the earth, and they're all over the place, especially in warmer climates. They prefer warmer climates, but they're basically everywhere.
So the true reptilians, are they in control of the human reptilians, would you say? Are they still in contact with them and in control of them?
Yes, but, you know, Debbie, the thing is that the hybrids, the Illuminati, want to be the ones in control now, and they want their own empire. And so we're seeing a battle between the 100% or the purebred reptilians and the Illuminati as well. So there's so there's
a lot of infighting going on.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. I mean, this is why they all inbreed as well. Right. Also, we're going to Nibirians. We haven't got long left. We've only got about 3 minutes. I think the giants was descended from them. So, because they found statues of people that were about 36 inches tall. I've got one more question. What is your opinion about the eye of Jupiter shrinking?
Can you repeat that?
Have you got an opinion about the eye of Jupiter shrinking? I think it was shrinking.
Yes, I've talked about this a lot, and that's, you know, back when that string of pearls, the comets, supposedly, hit Jupiter. That was artificial, and they aren't turning Jupiter into a second sun. And so as it heats up, the eye is shrinking, and other centers are opening up there. But we're seeing, if you look at Jupiter now, it's much brighter than it used to be, and it is heating up. So we're going
I think that was called the Lucifer Project, wasn't it?
Yes, Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and also, maybe it's me, but to me the moon looks like it's getting brighter. There's changes around the moon. I don't know if that's me, Stuart.
Well, a lot of people have said that, and that is because the moon has actually gotten just a tad closer than it used to be.
Oh, right. Is there any reason to that? Is that a natural phenomenon, or do you think the moon is being moved a tad closer?
Yeah, it is being moved, and there is another moon behind it, a second object.
I've heard that. I've heard as well that we've got 3 moons.
Well, yes. In fact, NASA admitted a couple of years ago that there was a second object, and then they dropped the whole story.
Yeah. So we do hear snippets.
Mm-hmm.
They do let snippets out. But it's wonderful when people like you that have really studied this, and it's been a lifetime's work, hasn't it?
Yeah,
and
it sure has.
Yeah, and it'll carry on for a lifetime. Are you obsessed with it? Do you find it quite obsessive?
Well, it just becomes a way of life, and my goal is to take what's out there and tell people what the truth is behind it, so that it can all change, and so that we can remove the victimization mentality that attracts all of it.
That's right. We're not victims. We're fighters.
Right.
We are not victims. Stuart, we've got 1 minute left, and thank you so much for coming on my show. I have enjoyed every minute, and thank you for your patience.
Well, sorry that I caused your circuits to blow out there, but...
No, that's okay. I tell you, I forgive you it all. I'm just so glad that you stayed on and we could carry on. And please come back again, because this has been wonderful. And thank you to all the listeners out there for listening in. And Stuart, I'm going to leave the last 41 seconds to you.
Well, I appreciate all you listeners out there, too. Please come visit my site, expansions.com, and come with us on some of our trips. I'd love to meet all of you.
And when you come to London, you let me know, because the first person you're going to meet is me. So we can do a show together.
That would be great.
Face to face. It'd be brilliant.
Yes, it would be.
Anyway, thank you so much, Stuart. I'm going to drop you an email just after the show, and I can't wait for the next one. I just can't wait.
Thank you. Let's arrange it, and then we'll get together.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Stuart. You have a lovely day.
Thank you. You too, Debbie.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to all the listeners. Good night. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.